My name is Ruben Rangel. I was born and raised here in Dallas, Texas, 1952 as a matter of fact. I was born down at St. Paul Hospital and I was raised at 3214 Herbert Street. Our family at Rangeles were one of the first families to come to La Bajada. My father would tell me that the Chibolas and the Paderes were here when we came here. There was families coming, and some people had moved over to Ledbetter and to Los Altos only because La Bajada got a bad reputation from the beginning in that the Paderes, my grandfather, Candelario, and Don Chantaca, Don Paderes, Don Chantaca, and Candelario all fought with Pancho Villa in 1910. So they left and came to different parts of Texas and all finally settled in Dallas, and they all finally settled in La Bajada, and people word got out to say, hey, La Bajada is a bunch of revolutionaries and you don't want to live there. You want to go ahead and move a little further west to Los Altos and Ledbetter. And then Bonnie and Clyde didn't help us out either, did they? Bonnie and Clyde met in Herbert Street, and their father had a gas station on Burger Street in Los Altos. But that's another story, right? My grandparents came over in 1910, and they worked as migrant farm workers up and down Michigan, Illinois, all the central states, picking crops. They would come back in fall and work whatever jobs they could during the Depression in the fall and winters, and just suffer through harsh winters and springs here, and then go back out and work again up in north, and they would travel back and forth. My dad was 10 years old. He said that he couldn't pick cotton because he was too young, but what he had to do was drive a cart with two mules on it and go and pick up the cotton bales and take them back, and then he would come back at home 10, 12 o'clock at night after he fed the mules and washed them down, and he was 10 years old. Also, when they went up north to pick crops, he said they had a Model T, and he said he was 10 years old and he was the only one that could drive. He was the oldest male, right? He said you had to have 8 arms. You had to be an octopus to drive those things, because they had like 4 pedals and I don't know how many handles up here, right? And yeah, there was no hotels for us. He said we'd have to camp out on the side of the road overnight. The thing only did 35 miles an hour and everybody was on it, right? So it didn't go fast. Grandma would have beans and tortillas, for the trip, and take 2-3 days to get up to wherever they're going, and they'd follow crops and come back. But they'd always come back to Dallas. They didn't move into West Dallas until 43, I believe. But they lived in Frisco, they lived in Plano, they lived in McKinney, they lived in Allen, they lived in all these little farm communities, and that's all they were. All these suburbs that are now Plano, big communities, were nothing but little farm communities. All it had was a post office and a grocery store, and they were both in the same building. Right? And he gets a kick out of that now they're big suburbs, right? And they came back, and they kept going back and forth for many years. From 1917, that he was born here, my grandparents came over in 1910, and until 1943 they did this. He joined the army. During the Depression, they lived on the other side of the river in what is old East Dallas and old North Dallas, Little Mexico. And what happened there was they got driven out from that area because of development, and the Mexican was relocated again from that side of the river to this side of the river. And we don't want that. We don't want to be relocated again. We're tired of being relocated. That's not going to happen, and we're going to keep fighting to keep that from happening.